Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, and access to daily news digests from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, as well as guided meditation programs. Between a full-time job in IT and a full-time job in podcasting, it gets harder and harder to sit down and read the books I'm interested in. This is where Audible comes in. I can listen on my daily commute, relaxing, or while out running errands and still get in the books I've been wanting to get into. You can download titles and listen offline anytime, anywhere. The app is free and can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. Now you can try Audible risk-free with a special 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. That's audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. Don't let your busy life get in the way of that great book you've been wanting to read. Go get your free trial of Audible today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is Geoffrey, and we've talked about many times before that I experience problems and struggles with my mental health. And really, without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy does work. It's helped for me, but what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, or you're not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's really time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles, and it's time to start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And there's a special offer to Nerdery and Murdery listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. That's betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
You're listening to the sweet, sensual, serendipitous, and soulful sounds of Nerdery and Murdery.
God, I hate you so much. Welcome to episode 18 of Nerdery and Murdery.
18 peoples.
This episode comes out on October 3rd.
October 3rd.
All the way into October now, so
That's
we're
right.
approaching Halloween. I believe we have an episode coming out on
Halloween,
this
yes.
year?
Episode 22 will be on Halloween. We have a themed episode that day. So yes.
So pretty cool that we'll do that. So, happy Halloween season for those of you listening.
Get the pumpkins out. Get you a couple of hay bales or whatever else you do. We always get hay bales.
Sure, whatever.
That's just our thing. Oh, I am Zig with your Nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your Murdery, ready to entertain you today. As we finish up our recording week, we, as usual, we've been doing our recording of 3 episodes, and we're to our last one of the week. We had our photo shoot earlier today, which was a lot of fun. We talked about in the last episode a little bit. We're getting some really good comments on Facebook.
Yes, we are.
I'm really liking to see that. People sharing everything out.
A lot of love is coming our way.
Absolutely. And that's
a lot of love.
And that's great. And it's kind of funny that I'm saying this now, and we're now in October.
Yeah.
When this comes out, we're now in episode 18. For us, we're still back at the beginning.
Yeah. We have released episode 4 this morning at midnight. Well, midnight last night.
So it's still fresh to us, and hopefully that's not annoying for people in the future that get to it. But it's just really refreshing to see people really seem to enjoy it.
They really like it.
And I like that today was episode 4 release, because 4 was where we kind of turned a corner.
I think so too.
Well, because we fixed our sound problems we had in the first 3 episodes, because we weren't using the table mics. We moved to the floor mics.
Yes.
Things kind of really started clicking a little bit more. And I think as we've gone on, each episode, I think we've learned something.
Yeah. We've gotten better.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I think,
at least from a technical perspective,
from a technical perspective, for sure.
Yes.
But one of the things that I've enjoyed as I've gone back and listened is I really love the very natural crosstalk we have during each other's segments, and people have actually commented on that as well. That they think you and I feed off each other very well. And I think as each episode's gone on, we've had a lot more of that, and it's been really good.
I've had 2 or 3 people tell me, "Man, you've got a really great chemistry with that guy." I was like, "Well, I've known him for 30 years."
That does have a little something to do with it. We get to laugh, and we've over the years we've laughed together, we've cried together, we've commiserated together, and
yes, we both presided over each other's weddings.
We did.
He was with me when my mom passed away, and I needed somebody with me, and that was
you were
beautiful.
with me when my dad passed,
yes.
And so we've been with each other through so many times in our lives. I'm so happy that everything really kind of culminated into this. One of the people on our Facebook actually sent me a personal message, what do they call it? A DM, I guess.
Yeah.
Direct message, saying that they felt we really found our calling, and that was really, really cool to hear something
that was very
like
touching.
that. Yeah. So anyway, enough of us are love fest on each other here.
Aww.
So. Unless you've got anything else, we should go into the nerdery side of our show.
I would love to go to the nerdery side. I've actually been listening to this a lot. It's another music category. We're going to do 3 albums today by the band The Jesus and Mary Chain.
Okay.
The albums are going to be Psycho Candy, their first album, Darklands, their second album, and Automatic, their third album.
So I'm going to say this about that, because you had told me the albums.
Yes, in the order to listen to them.
Yes, and I did. I can tell you that I listened on Spotify, and I could tell by the download count which songs were more popular than others.
Just Like Honey.
I will say, I'm sorry?
Just Like Honey.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that one.
Okay, the opening to Just Like Honey, the drum beat, they ripped that off from Be My Baby.
Huh. Well, what I found very quickly as I went through and listened to these is the ones that had the higher download count were way more tolerable to me than the ones with the low download count. Just Like Honey on Psycho Candy, absolutely. I put in capitals that I loved it. Here's what it reminded me of. That particular song reminded me of She Wants Revenge. The group that did Tear You Apart, the song at the beginning of American Horror Story Hotel. Yeah. That song reminded me of that group.
They were very heavily influenced by these guys.
Okay. All right. If you want to talk about Psycho Candy a little bit, I can tell you my comments after we're done there.
Well, okay, let me give you some background on Jesus and Mary
Please.
Chain first. This is just a few paragraphs on them. The brothers, Jim and William Reed, had been inspired to form a band as far back as 1977, having heard groups of the British punk scene. In the early 80s, they formed their own band. William said, or is quoted as, "It was the perfect timing because there weren't any guitar bands. Everybody was making electronic pop music. So before forming the band, the brothers spent 5 years on the dole, during which they wrote and recorded songs in a home recording studio, which is a little cassette deck with some dials on it, basically. and figuring out the sound and what the band was going to look like. They actually just kind of got in their heads what they wanted to do, how they wanted to seem. Originally, they were going to call themselves the Poppy Seeds or the Death of Joy. And there are a couple of different accounts, but basically the reason they went with the Jesus and Mary chain, there was a breakfast cereal in Scotland, which is where they're from, East Kilbride, which is a working class town. There was a breakfast cereal that on the back of it offered a necklace with Jesus and Mary on it. And it was the Jesus and Mary chain. And they saw that and went, oh, that's it. That's the name for the band.
When did you say they started again?
This is in the early 80s.
Early 80s. Okay.
Yeah. Psycho Candy was released in like 85.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you listen to Psycho Candy, it does not sound like it was released in 1985. It sounds like it was released in 1995, maybe. I do not hear the 80s when I listen to those guys.
Okay. I'm holding comment.
Right on. So they started recording and sending demos to record companies, and in 1983, using a Porta studio, that their dad got laid off from his job, and some of the money he had, he gave them so they could go and record these demos or get a little Porta studio so they could do it themselves. And in early 84, they had recruited a bass player and a drummer, and they were listening to a lot of Velvet Underground and the Stooges and the Shangri-Las. So a lot of that girl group sound that they've got, they wanted to play that music, but with fuzz tones, using a lot of noise and feedback. That's they started because someone said, "You guys sound like the Ramones singing, bubblegum pop songs." It's like, well, no, that's not what we're looking to do. We want something different. So they started using fuzz tones and reverb, and it's in every one of their songs. They use it less in Automatic than they do Psycho Candy or Darklands, but in every song they use reverb. That's what throws people off about this band, because there's a lot of fuzz. In some of their songs, it's too much. In some of their songs, it is too much, and I get that. But they started playing live in 84, and it was William Reed's guitar was left out of tune on purpose. And then Murray Dalglish, eventually he was playing two drums, a floor tom and a snare. And if they wanted to use a cymbal, they had a trash can lid. So you don't hear any cymbals in their song because they don't use them.
Okay.
So they were having trouble getting gigs. They took to turning up to venues and claiming to be the supporting band and just getting up and playing. And they'd make a quick exit. At this point is when they started getting a reputation for being rowdy, because they would come up and say they're the support band and come up and play, and then the support band would show up.
Oh, God.
And there'd be fist fights because it's Scotland and that's what they do. But anyway, they found Alan McGee and Bobby Gillespie. Bobby Gillespie ended up joining them for a while, and he started his own band. After that, they were kind of big. I can't remember his band name. I'm so sorry. But yeah, Alan McGee ran a record company, kind of a small one, Creation Records. Oasis was Creation Records.
Oh, okay.
Alan McGee made a fortune off of Oasis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he made a fortune and then sold Creation Records to Sony, and they continued to pay him just to be around for a while.
Yeah, I mean, Wonderwall, that was like, I think that won a whole bunch of awards.
Wonderwall made £4 million in 1 week.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw an interview with Liam Gallagher. He was like, it made me a millionaire 4 times over in 1 week.
Sure.
£4 million, 1 week.
Are they still doing anything, or was that just
Early aughts
and
the
then
brothers
gone?
do not get along anymore.
Okay.
So they did. They were doing a lot of stuff. But yeah, those brothers don't get along anymore.
So they disbanded.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I was going to say, I haven't heard anything from Oasis in a very long time. So didn't know.
Yeah. So they would get up and they would do this. And Alan McGee kind of signed them and released a single. And then Blanco y Negro Records, which is an arm of Warner Brothers, was like, hey, we want you guys to do a record. So they did Psycho Candy, which they released in 1985. Oh, I did say 85. The album is considered a landmark of recording because of its combination of guitar feedback with traditional pop song structures and influence on a type of genre called shoegazing, which was
What?
Shoegazing.
Shoegazing.
Yes, basically, the guitarists would have a bunch of pedals in front of them, so when they played, they stared at their feet. Hence, they gazed at their shoes, or shoegazing.
Okay.
My Bloody Valentine is a shoegazing band. Slow Dive, Lush was an early shoegazing band. Even Blur, their first album was a shoegazing album.
I don't know any of those names you just said.
Blur? You know Blur.
I do?
Yeah. Woohoo!
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yes, I know
You don't
that
have
one.
to say anything. Just go, woo!
Yeah. Okay. You're right. I know that one. All right.
I have no idea what he says.
I don't either. But I know the song you're
So
talking
yeah,
about now.
they released Psycho Candy, and the opening song is Just Like Honey, which is the one that everybody thinks of when they think of that.
Well, okay. I've never heard any of their stuff before.
Really? I'm surprised. Like Automatic was big on the indie charts here.
Nope. My actual final comment was I didn't know shit from any of these albums.
It's because it was designed to.
I guess Just Like Honey, like I said, I absolutely loved it. I like She Wants Revenge. I love She Wants Revenge.
Yeah.
And Just Like Honey reminded me quite a bit of that group. So that without a doubt was my favorite off this album.
The Hardest Walk. Did you like The Hardest Walk?
Nope.
No, you don't like that one?
Nope. So I'll give you through my list here. So The Living End and Taste the Floor, meh. Hardest Walk, nope. Cut Dead, I said was not bad, more like Just Like Honey.
Yeah.
In a Hole, nope. Taste of Cindy was more like Cut Dead and Just Like Honey, but I really didn't like it much.
Okay.
Never Understand, I did not like the constant screeching guitar in that one.
Like I said, there are some that there's too much fuzz to.
Couldn't stand it.
And they started to scale that back later on.
I couldn't make it through the rest of the album. That was as far as I could get. I just, this is not my band.
No.
I could tell you that. My final comment that I put, and because I do want to talk about the other albums though too, is this really isn't in my wheelhouse. I could see this band at that punk bar in Austin.
Yes.
That's,
God, I wish. I'd love to see
that's what I see them as, and that's why this is not in my wheelhouse. We had that conversation before. I was not a fan of that music. I was not a fan of that bar. You loved it. So it makes sense that I wouldn't really like this band.
Yeah.
That being said, I thought there was some okay stuff in here.
Yeah. Just Like Honey's a great song.
But that was it.
Yeah.
For me.
That's okay. Honestly, I'm glad you like Just Like Honey. It's one of those things that's like, man, I think you would probably dig that one.
I did.
So yeah, Psycho Candy, critically people went nuts for it. They were like, oh my God, because it was so different. In the UK album charts, it went up to number 31, not the UK indie charts, the UK album charts.
Right.
It was big in Australia and New Zealand. It hit 39 in Australia and 40 in New Zealand, and it made it up to the U.S. Billboard Charts 200. It made it to 188.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's not bad. But again, it was mostly alty kids like me who got it. And I think most of them bought it for Just Like Honey, because I don't think they released a single over here. I think you just had to buy the album. So after that, they decided to do a second album, which was released in 87. That was called Darklands. Darklands is the one. Okay, so I wasn't introduced to them back in the day. I was introduced to Automatic, the next one. But Darklands is the one that I picked it up in the 90s, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is beautiful. You know what? It sounds like a David Lynch movie. That's what I like best about it.
Darklands. Here's my first comment.
Okay.
The first song was Darklands. And my comment was, love the start of this album, reminded me of a Twin Peaks end scene band. So yes, that's exactly what I thought when I heard this. I'm like, that band would have fit perfect at the end of Twin Peaks.
I wish, honestly, when they were making it, I wish the two brothers had gotten together. They got together a couple of years later.
For the rest of this album, Deep One, Perfect Morning, I thought that one started out okay, but I got bored very quickly. Happy When It Rains was decent.
I see. I think that Happy When It Rains is the best song on
I
here.
thought it was decent. April Skies, not bad, but I did put on here that I thought April Skies was very Gin Blossoms.
Gin Blossoms, yeah, I could see where they could have been inspired by this.
And then the last one I have on here was Surfin' USA.
Yeah.
Let me read you my comment.
Okay.
I wanted to stab out my eyes and gouge out my ears. I hated that song.
That was only on the cover, or that was only on the American version. It's actually not on the UK version. So for USA,
I did. I wanted to hurt something.
It's not good.
No,
it's a bad cover.
No, yes, and I'm not one of those anti-cover people. We've had this conversation. Yeah. There are, Disturbed, Sound of Silence, I think is a great cover.
Yeah. We listened to another one today in the car.
Genesis. Land of Confusion.
Yes, Land of Confusion.
Yeah, another one by Disturbed. Jimi Hendrix, All Along the Watchtower, is a better cover than... I agree. Is a better version than Bob Dylan's.
Not that Bob Dylan's is bad.
No.
But it ain't Hendrix.
It's not Hendrix. So I don't mind covers.
Yeah.
I don't mind them at all. I know there are some people that are very purist and they're like, oh, no, covers, no, never, never, never.
You can't have covers.
Right.
And you have to listen to this on vinyl.
Whatever. Whatever. But... this one was just terrible.
Yeah, it was the ice pick to the brain.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm with you.
I couldn't stand it.
I agree.
Okay.
But honestly, Darklands, Happy When It Rains, April Skies, and I kind of like About You as well. The rest of them I can kind of take a leave. I like them, but like those songs, I think those songs, that's what that music's supposed to sound like. Mm-hmm. That's what guitar music is supposed to sound like to me, and I love Darklands, Happy When It Rains. I've been humming Darklands all day, by the way, because I was thinking about this. Yeah, that's what I've been humming all day. Oh, where the Darklands go. And the one thing that bothers me, the two Reed brothers, because they will switch off. Sometimes it'll be William singing. Most of the time it's William singing. But sometimes it will be the other Reed brother singing, and their voices are so close, I can't tell which is which. Kind of. Jim, when he sings, it's, I think he's a little higher, maybe. But, okay. Yeah, so, April Skies, Darklands, and Happy When It Rains. These are on playlists that I have, and they play in heavy rotation. I love these songs, and I can't hear enough of them. I wish that I could sing along with them, but like a lot of the shoegazing stuff, it's hard to understand what they're saying because it wasn't so much about the words. It was about the tone of the voice.
Right.
And they're the opposite of the Smiths. Their music sounds really sad. Their lyrics are actually pretty happy. If you actually look at their lyrics, it's a love song. This is a really nice little love song, but it sounds sad. Whereas the Smiths, the music is really happy and the lyrics are really sad.
It's depressing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. They're the Smiths' polar opposite.
That's funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's also very Scottish. Okay. So at this point, they still have a reputation for, starting fights and being high. And I would say early on that reputation is well deserved, but by this time they're really not doing that. They're trying to work, especially with Darklands, because Darklands went to number 5 on the UK album charts.
Wow.
Yeah, it went to on the Billboard Top 200. It was 161, and in Australia it was 81. So that's a pretty big album.
Sure.
And that's the one that most people are like, oh yeah, Darklands. That's Jesus and Mary chain. And I kind of agree with them. But the one I was first introduced to was Automatic, which came out in 1989.
Yeah, and when I had given my first comment here that their tone really changed from the first two albums. Here.
Yes.
It was very noticeable difference.
They wanted to be a little brighter, I think. And, they had made their dark albums. Mm-hmm. Darklands is a dark album. It's called Darklands. I mean...
Sure.
I mean, it's not quite a goth record because it still does sound kind of like 60s pop because that's what they were going for.
Well, most of this album, my comments were really not bad.
Yeah.
I thought not bad. I did like Here Comes Alice.
Here Comes Alice.
I thought that was a good one. I thought Coast to Coast sounded very Depeche Mode.
Yes. Yes, I think they were actually touring with Depeche Mode.
Were they?
Yeah.
Blues from a Gun wasn't bad. Between
Blues from a Gun.
Planets, not bad. Head On actually had the highest downloads.
That was the hit here. That was an indie hit here. And
Okay.
it was an indie hit here. I think it made it number one on our indie charts for a couple of weeks, but it was in the indie charts for like 2 years.
Okay, well that makes sense because again, it wasn't bad. It was better than most. But yeah, this was I probably like this album better than the other two overall.
Yeah. What'd you think about Halfway to Crazy? I love that one.
I don't
Halfway to Crazy.
I don't have that on here, so I don't think that that one must not have given me much of an impression.
Yeah.
Because I don't have it on there. The ones I named were really kind of the ones that stood out to me.
Yeah, Head On was a hit.
Yeah,
I think it even made it. I think they even played it on the regular rock stations for a while in like 1990.
I had never heard it. Again, this is another group that
It was in heavy rotation on the Edge too.
And I wasn't a big Edge listener until, and even then not as much. But I started listening to the Edge somewhere in the early to mid 90s. But I wasn't a heavy Edge listener.
Yeah, this would have been heavy rotation on the Edge in 1990. So if you were listening later than that,
I wasn't listening.
Yeah, because you wouldn't hear it that often after that.
Matter of fact, in 1990, I may have been in Arizona in 19. I don't remember.
Okay,
but no, I was here. But I definitely wasn't an Edge listener in 1990.
Right on. The positioning for them. So the Australian album charts, they got up to number 11, and they were on their charts for 89 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. The UK album charts, they also got up to 11. And in the US Billboard 200, they made it to 105.
Wow.
So yeah, this one was a big album for them. Now, they continued to do stuff after that. Matter of fact, they had kind of a minor hit with the girl from Hope Sandoval from Mazzy Star, the band.
I'm familiar with the band name.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know.
No, it's okay. I remember Mazzy Star.
Fade Into You. I couldn't think of the name of the song. Yeah, but she joined the band for a tour, and she came out and sang a couple songs. That song is great. Mm-hmm. It almost sounds like a country song, though. And that's 2 or 3 albums later than this period. And then the brothers, toured up until like 99, 2000, and then they got into a massive fist fight on stage and didn't speak for like 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was in 99?
99, 2000, somewhere right in there. Yeah.
Wow. So they didn't speak until just a few years ago.
Yeah, just a few years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, they were brothers, and they were in this band together from 1977 when they got the idea up until 1999. So yeah.
And so Automatic was their last album?
No. They had several albums after that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Automatic is just the one out. Automatic is their third album. Sure. I think they ended up doing like 12 or 13 albums.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they've done a lot. Matter of fact, between Automatic and Darklands, they did a cover album, which actually placed higher in the UK album charts. But I don't even think they released it over here.
And I wish I'd paid more attention to this. I saw this on Facebook not too long ago. Matter of fact, I think it was Christy that posted it. The little Venn diagram with Jesus, the Jesus and Mary chain in the middle, and all the bands that feed into that, so there were obvious influences and everything like that. I wish I'd paid more attention to that.
Yeah, I noticed that the other day. I was like, "Hey, where so and so?" Because there was a band. I was like, "You need to put this band in there. that is part of that influence tree."
Right.
But yeah, they were highly influential to, again, that shoegazing movement, which was not huge. But that shoegazing genre became...
You want to say it 3 times fast?
No, I do not. I do not at all. That shoegazing genre became Britpop.
Shoegazing, I can't even...
Shoegazing genre. Yeah.
Shoegazing genre. I can't.
This is why I do vocal warm-ups. So I can say things like shoegazing genre.
I can't even say it normally.
Yeah, so that becomes Britpop. And Britpop is, Blur and Oasis and, all of those bands that we got in the mid-90s out of England were not directly influenced by these guys, but indirectly influenced them.
Right.
So that's why those 3 albums are important, especially to the British. Now, they're fairly important over here. I don't think they were as important to say like the Replacements were, but, or even the Smiths. But these albums, because it gave people license to go, you know what? I can play some of that stuff from the early 60s and it doesn't sound goofy. Because that's basically what they were doing. They were trying to play, they wanted to play Ronnie and the Ronettes, Be My Baby, and something from the Shangri-Las or, you know, or the Four Tops and not sound nerdy. And the only way they figured out they could do that is if they did it with fuzz tone guitars. And the guitars they use are 1940s and 1950s style guitars. They're semi-acoustic. They have F-holes, sound holes. Yeah, so yeah, basically they were heavily influential on a lot of English bands. Not so much American bands, but they were really influential in a lot of Australian and New Zealand bands too. So that's, you know, a lot of those guys, like Silverchair was heavily influenced by these guys. And you can hear it by the way the dude sings.
Right. I know Silverchair.
Yeah. I can listen to like Darklands and Just Like Honey and of course Head On. Again, they're in heavy rotation. I listen to them almost daily. I've been humming Darklands all day.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. Not my wheelhouse. This one is just not my wheelhouse.
I just wish I could sing along with it better, but it's kind of hard to understand what he's saying. And if you ever heard them talk, they are Scottish.
Yeah. This is one you're not going to find me adding into my playlist.
You're not going to add this.
No.
Not even Just Like Honey.
No, not enough. Not enough.
No.
Like I said, it reminded me of She Wants Revenge, but just not enough to add it now.
Right on.
Not
okay, that's
this.
fair.
This one is not for me. So I can see where some people would like it, but yeah. Jeffrey Wright will not be adding this into his wheelhouse.
Into your wheelhouse. This will not make it to your place.
Into my playlist, no.
What I think is funny, though, when you start to listen to that college rock one, I guarantee you one of these songs is going to pop up. Probably
no,
Head On.
It doesn't.
Oh, no, it doesn't?
No, I know they're not in that list. I've looked through that list. You know, that's one that's heavy rotation for me when, you know, doing dishes or anything like that. I'll put that college rock one on. That's a great little playlist. So, yeah, not for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir.
No, I appreciate it. You know, as always, I appreciate it, whether or not it's going to be for me or not. This is, I think this is probably the first one where I'm not ending up going, oh yeah, I'll give that a whirl. Because I'm
not so much.
No, I'm good with having my knowledge of
Jesus and Mary
Jane,
and
I'll be putting it off to the side.
Okay, right on. Yeah, you say that you're going to lay down and think, I want to go.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
To the Darklands.
I'm going to guarantee I'm not. No, not a chance. Not a chance. Not a chance. So, okay.
So yeah, I am going to recommend to our listeners, if they do like fuzz tone guitars, they definitely need to check them out because it's different.
I'm sure we have some listeners out there that'll enjoy it. So I'm glad you get to give that, and I can not have to listen to it again and be perfectly happy with my life. So, okay.
Wait till we do the hardcore punk stuff.
I'd prefer not to, but you know, I'll sit through it, whatever. So with that, we're going to go back onto the murder side of the house.
Murder.
For this one, we're going to be talking about the Whitaker family murder. And I got my information from medium.com. WNYC Studios, Forensic Files Now, ABC News, and Daily Motion Crime Watch. So quite a few articles that I got things from. This kind of goes all over the place.
Okay.
So I do apologize. I really kind of tried to keep everything flowing very linear, but there's kind of times I might have to go back a little bit.
Okay.
Because there's a lot here and there's a lot to unpack. But we're going to start on December 10th, 2003.
Okay.
Kent Whitaker and his wife, Patricia. Kent was a comptroller of a family-owned construction business. And his wife, Patricia, who was a former elementary school teacher, were really kind of in a great mood. They were really happy because their 23-year-old son, Bart, was graduating Sam Houston State University with honors.
Oh, nice. Sam Houston.
Yeah, they were very happy. And the family, along with their other son, 19-year-old Kevin, went 10 minutes away from their home, which they lived in the Sugar Lake subdivision of Sugar Land, Texas.
Okay.
They went 10 minutes away to nearby Stafford, where they went to eat at Papado's.
Okay.
So have themselves a nice little dinner. At the dinner, Kent gave Bart a $4,000 Rolex as a gift for his graduation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, his family, Bart's family was very generous to him throughout the years. I mean, They gave him cars, money, even a townhouse on a lake nearby.
Oh, nice.
So they were really, really, really generous to him. After celebrating the night, having a good time, he even had he even got one of those desserts that in chocolate sauce it was written "Congratulations" around
nice.
the pie plate. Yeah. They drove home. They all began to go back inside, but Bart had to go back to his Yukon because he forgot his cell phone and needed to check his messages.
Right on.
Kevin, the younger brother, he was the first one who entered the home. He had driven. He unlocked the door, went inside, and was shot through the chest. The bullet penetrated his heart, and he fell right where he stood. Car keys.
Killed him instantly.
Right, yep. Patricia, the mom, was right behind Kevin, and she was shot in the chest right as she entered the home. She ended up falling kind of partially out the door, partially in. Kent, the dad, he heard the shots and was on the porch, and he got shot as well, but he was at an angle from the shooter, and the bullet passed through his chest and into his shoulder, shattering his humerus bone. It said that the bullet missed his heart by 6 inches.
Wow, this guy's a good shot.
And it was really sad because he said that all he could hear, because he was, as they showed it, as he's on the porch, he's kind of laying with his head away from the front door.
Yeah.
Patricia's laying halfway out of the door, and all he could hear was her wet coughs and her gurgling. I mean, it's obviously blood.
And he can't do anything about it.
Right. He's been shot too. Bart then rushed in, and he began a struggle with a masked gunman before he got shot in the upper left arm, and then Bart chased him out the door. They had a neighbor, Cliff Stanley, who heard the attack and rushed to the scene.
Way to go, Cliff.
Yeah, he immediately took off his own shirt and he started to try to stop Kent's bleeding. And then he was calling 911 and was on with the operator while Bart was also calling 911.
Yeah.
Bart told the operator that he'd been shot in the arm and he chased the shooter out the back door. The operator asked if Bart could describe the attacker, which Bart said he was black. You can hear the 911 recording where he definitively claimed the race of the attacker. Bart's voice sounded as he was 100% positive of this when I heard it. I do want to play devil's advocate. He had been shot, so the voice could just be out of shock.
That's true.
I just want
That's true. That's true. And the guy was masked anyway.
He was. Bart's father, though, later said he noticed white skin around the eye holes of the assailant. So we've kind of got two descriptions here.
They both got, they both just been shot, and a guy was wearing a mask. And, makes sense to me, that they could have conflicting stories, even though they were in the same place.
Kevin died within minutes of being shot.
Of course, right through the heart.
Patricia was airlifted out, but she died en route to Memorial Hermann Hospital. And Kevin and Bart survived the injuries. One of the first police officers on the scene was Detective Marshall Slott. And he said that when he initially got the call, he thought the operator was joking.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't believe that 4 people had just been shot in Sugar Land because it had a nearly non-existent homicide rate.
Yeah. That's a quiet community.
Absolutely. And so, he couldn't believe that there was a homicide in Sugar Land.
You must be mistaken.
Right.
Because 2 people didn't just get killed and 2 other people get injured.
Right.
in a home invasion in Sugar Land, Texas. That just doesn't happen.
No. Kent did say later, and I thought this was so weird. He said that the low crime, because of the low crime rate in Sugar Land, he originally thought that it was a prank by one of his son's friends. He thought that it was one of his, yeah. He said he thought it was one of his kids' friends playing a prank with a paintball gun. What the hell kind of prank is that?
Yeah.
You know, you lurk in someone's house in the middle of the night, and you whether or not you're playing a prank or shoot them with a paintball. I didn't understand that one.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
Boggled my mind.
Yeah.
Detective Slott did discover the murder weapon on the scene. It was a 9mm Glock that was registered to Kevin, the son who
got shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Detective Slott also found a black leather men's glove lying on the curb next to Bart's Yukon.
Okay.
So these were things left behind. Further investigation of the scene, there was some really kind of weird stuff in there. All the dresser drawers in the first floor master bedroom had been left open 2 inches. Exactly, evenly. They were, you'd think if it was a robbery, they would be pulled out and rifled through.
Turned over.
They were exactly pulled out, as if someone deliberately pulled them out to a specific. It was very weird. None of the contents had been disturbed or rifled through at all.
Okay.
There was jewelry, expensive audio-visual equipment left out in plain sight. None of that was stolen. And the only fingerprints found in the home belonged to the Whitakers.
Okay.
But Bart's cell phone was missing.
Okay.
So
that's right, because he went out to the car to get his cell phone.
He came back. He called. Yeah. So, but now now it's missing. The police believe that the killer entered the house through a crawl space in Kevin's room on the second floor, and then pried open Kevin's gun safe to take the Glock, which had been a gift from Bart.
Yeah.
The Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office then brought in bloodhounds who tracked from the back door to Bart's Yukon, and they took scent swabs from the black glove, the dresser drawers, in the master bedroom, the gun safe, and the murder weapon.
Okay.
So investigators then began looking into the Whitakers' background because they wanted to see, who would try to execute them, because that's what they were looking at.
Yeah,
They
it looks like it was a killing,
an execution.
Not a robbery.
There was an armed robbery at a house not far away in their gated community, but the murders led nowhere as the bloodhounds didn't pick up the scent at the Whitaker home.
Okay.
But then there was something interesting. Is the investigators turned up that Bart had left Clements High School after being busted for a string of robberies he committed with other students. Okay. This led him to being sent to a Christian academy, and he was evaluated by a psychologist, excuse me, who diagnosed him with delusional paranoid disorder. Bart's parents, however, they still bought him several luxury vehicles, the lakeside townhouse, and paid his tuition first at Baylor and then at Sam Houston State. So they're still providing for him.
Yeah.
On December 12th, 2003, the Sugar Land police received a tip from a newspaper reporter that Bart had not even been enrolled at Sam Houston State and had not been for some time.
But he just graduated.
They obtained his school transcripts and confronted him with it, and Bart then told detectives and his father that he had actually told his mother that he was not graduating. So he said that he told his mom, this was kind of a, his father was very disappointed in him, of course, with this, especially after what's been going on. So Bart decided to move home. While he and his father recovered from the shooting. Yeah. They said that Bart spent every free moment with his father, just being the perfect son, sitting around reading the Bible together, and just trying to heal from all of this. A few months later, there was a Dallas bank teller named Adam Hipp who showed up at the Sugar Land Police Department and wanted to talk to Detective Slott.
Okay.
Old Mr. Hipp had been a classmate of Bart's at Clements High School. And he told Detective Slott that 2 years earlier, in 2001, Bart had recruited him to kill his parents in order to inherit his parents' construction business.
Whoa.
Adam also provided a diagram of the Whitaker house and showed where Bart had instructed Adam, as the gunman, to lie in wait while Bart took the family to dinner. The murder weapon, which was a pistol, was to have been provided by Bart's roommate at Baylor, who would then drive down from Waco and give the gun to Adam.
Okay.
Adam was to shoot Kent, Patricia, and Kevin in the front entry and then shoot Bart in the arm so that Bart would not be a suspect.
Okay.
So here's the interesting thing. Apparently, Kent and Patricia got wind of this murder plot. Because an acquaintance of Bart's called the police, but no one took it seriously. They thought it was just, quote, too far out. Bart told his family it was a misunderstanding, and they trusted him. Kent himself said he thought it was the result of kids drinking, and there was nothing to it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there's no audio for my face right now. I'm trying to get it back into a normal stance. Okay, I'm sorry. I am with you. I am following the logical course of events. Please continue, sir.
Yeah, you're kind of where I was at this point.
Yeah, no. I can see where your noodle started to twist. Just kids drinking. Just kid stuff.
So, oh God. So Adam was checked into as a suspect, but he had an alibi for December 10th. He was working late, and there was proof of that.
Yeah. But Adam may not have been the only person that dude talked to.
Well, so this led investigators to Bart's former Baylor roommate, Justin Peters, who was in San Antonio. And Justin actually admitted to his part in the plot that Adam described and said it was planned for April of 2001. Justin said they recruited another student, Will Anthony, to kill the family in December of 2000, but the plan just fell through. Justin did verify that Bart's motive was for financial gain.
Yeah.
Detectives then looked into Bart's roommate from the townhouse, Chris Brashear. Chris worked with Bart at the Bentwater Yacht and Country Club, in Lake Monroe. I'm hiccuping. About 10 miles from the townhouse, where you remember he had that lake townhouse.
Yeah. They were working at the country club.
And then there was another friend, Stephen Champagne, who worked as a bartender at Bentwater.
Okay.
And both Chris and Stephen denied involvement in the murders, but they agreed to be interviewed. They provided DNA samples and scent swabs for the bloodhounds, and the dogs got a hit on Chris Brashear's scent on the glove, drawers, gun safe, and the Glock.
Oh.
Old Adam Hip then lawyered up.
Yeah.
The Dallas banker.
Yeah.
Adam made a deal where he would not be prosecuted for the 2001 murder plot as long as he helped police with their investigation into Bart on this murder plot. Whoops.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Hit the mic on that one.
Yep.
Hot mic.
Sorry.
Adam agreed to contact Bart and record the conversations.
Yeah.
And in one such conversation, Bart agreed to pay Adam $20,000 to lie to police about Bart's involvement in the 2001 plot. In April 2004, Bart mailed $240 to a Dallas P.O. box specifically for Adam to receive payment. Bart's fingerprints were all over the mailer. And he signed the mailer. You ready for this one? K. Soze.
Kaiser Soze.
What a dick.
Kaiser Soze.
What a dick. Yeah, that's what he signed the mailer. Kaiser Soze. K. Soze. Yeah. This kid is unbelievable. I know. I was just.
I hope
flummoxed.
the end of this story is, and now he lives in Huntsville.
So Detective Slott then went to Kent and said, "You're in danger." Kent was told that the police felt wholeheartedly that Bart was responsible.
Yeah.
That Kent was living with a murderer and that he was living with a man who intended to murder him, and he needed to decide how he wanted to handle that.
Yeah. You need to figure this out.
Well, Kent told Detective Slott, "You guys are either way wrong or my son's a monster."
Yeah.
So
I think we're looking at option B.
Well, and I put a note here. So I was really confused here. everything to me seemed pretty wrapped up to make an arrest. Why wasn't Bart arrested at this point?
Yeah.
Surely there was enough for that at least. What were the police waiting for? This part confused me, and I couldn't find a whole lot of why they just went to Kent.
Somebody's already lawyered up and started pointing the fingers at him. Okay. If nothing else, he is guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. Whether a murder happened or not,
Sure.
he is guilty of conspiracy.
Sure.
Or you can at least charge him with conspiracy to commit murder.
You can arrest him for anything you want.
Yeah.
It's an old saying in police world. You might beat the rap, you ain't gonna beat the ride.
No.
So I don't this is where I was confused that they basically Detective Slot basically went to Kent and said, "We think your kid murdered your family.
We think he's going to murder you.
He lives here. Let's arrest him." But they didn't. And it's
Why?
I don't know. That was the part I couldn't figure out. And here's the consequence. On June 28th, 2004, Bart's Yukon was found abandoned at the Wesley Gardens Apartments complex in Houston with the engine still running.
Okay.
Bart had gone ghost.
Yeah.
Bart had disappeared.
Oh, of course he did, because he got wind of what was going down.
Right. And then that's what I said. I mean, I don't know. Was he just not home at the time? That one I can't figure out.
Yeah.
So the case then stalled after Bart was gone, and it actually stalled until August of 2015 when,
Whoa.
2005. I'm
Okay,
sorry. I'm so sorry.
No. I was like, 10
2005.
years?
2005.
Okay.
The detectives decided they were going to wiretap Chris Brashear and Stephen Champagne's phones,
Yeah.
hoping to get a lead on Bart.
Uh-huh.
But Chris and Stephen never spoke to each other, nor did Bart contact them.
Okay.
A grand jury, though, did subpoena their family and friends, and that broke Stephen.
Oh.
Stephen then contacted Detective Slot, met him in a coffee shop in Conroe to confess his part in the Whitaker murders.
Right on.
Stephen said he didn't know about the murders in advance, but he had driven Chris away from the Whitaker home on December 10th and helped dispose of the evidence from the murder in Lake Conroe.
Okay. That's a big lake.
However, Stephen failed a polygraph, so he then gave a videotape confession the next day, implicating himself, Chris, and Bart in both the murders and the attempted murder of Kent.
Okay.
Stephen then took police to Lake Conroe, where he showed where they discarded the bag of evidence. Stephen and Chris were then arrested, and divers went down, found the bag, and it contained a glove that matched the one found at the crime scene, a water bottle that they were able to get DNA evidence off of inside the cap, and that matched Chris, and a chisel with paint that matched Kevin Whitaker's gun safe.
Okay.
So we got everything now.
Yeah, got them all. Got physical evidence.
And they
got
also
confessions.
they also found a badly damaged cell phone, which was Bart's missing cell phone.
Yes. Well, of course.
So we have everything.
Yes.
We just have no Bart.
Yeah, because he's in the wind.
He's in the wind. However, on September 14th, 2005, a former co-worker of Bart's named Rudy Rios went to Detective Slot and said, "Hey, I know where Bart is. He's in Mexico, and he's using my name."
Oh, okay. All right.
Rudy had actually sold his identification to Bart and driven him to Mexico in exchange for $3,000. Bart himself took somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000 of his dad's money to flee down to Mexico. And Bart had settled down in the town of Cerralvo.
Yeah.
And he worked at a furniture store that his new girlfriend's parents owned.
Oh, nice.
Bart told all of his new friends down in Mexico that the gunshot wound he got in his arm was while fighting in Afghanistan.
Okay.
That he was an orphan and his mother was a prostitute.
Okay.
There was a couple of interesting things that his girlfriend did say that they once got into, or that his girlfriend got into a fight with her parents, and afterwards Bart allegedly said, "No, relax, let's fix things. Don't be angry at your parents. We can kill them."
Yeah.
But she didn't believe he was serious, but she said it did frighten her a little bit.
That's okay, baby. We could just kill him.
So the real Rudy Rios was paid $10,000 for his tip. And on September 22nd, 2000,
So he netted 13 grand out of this deal.
He did net 13 grand. On September 22nd, 2005, Bart, as Rudy, showed up for what he thought was a job interview in Monterey, New Mexico, and was taken into custody and brought back to Texas. In December 2005, the district attorney announced the state would be seeking the death penalty against Bart, but not against Chris or Stephen, as the DA believed that neither one of them would have committed a violent crime had it not been for Bart.
Right on.
Bart was offered a plea bargain in exchange for his admission of guilt, but he rejected that.
Okay.
The trial itself began in March of 2007. Bart refused to enter a plea, which forced the judge to enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf.
Okay.
Kent took the stand first and to recount the night of the murders. They had a recording of a conversation that was played while Kent was on the stand, and this was when Bart was in jail and talking to called his dad. And Bart complained that his attorney had the nerve to send an associate to speak to him, and he wanted the best attorney money could buy. You know what? This kid is a piece of shit.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
And
spoiled, rotten.
And Kent, did he just not believe his son did this, or was he just giving everything to his son? I understand doing everything to your child, but this I'm not understanding. I'm having a hard time with this one.
I would do time for my kid.
But Kent's not doing time for his kid.
No.
Kent's giving everything to his kid.
Yeah.
His kid's going to do the time. So I don't know. I just kind of had a hard time with this one. Yeah. Stephen took the stand on the third day of the trial. He said that he and Bart had met in the spring of 2003. Bart frequently told him that he was an orphan, and that Stephen was the brother he never had.
Okay.
By late summer after they met, Bart was joking to Stephen and Chris about killing his family, just to gauge the reactions. In September, Bart asked Stephen if he would be willing to kill his family if Bart got them out of the house first. And then shortly after, Bart invited Chris to move into the townhouse. And after Bart told Stephen he was already guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, Stephen agreed to be the getaway driver.
Right
on. Bart told his parents he would be graduating from college in December and arranged for the celebration dinner. And on the night of the murder, Stephen parked in back of the restaurant where he could watch the family arrive and leave. And then Bart called Stephen and told him they would be leaving the restaurant shortly. Stephen followed the Whitakers home as Bart instructed, parked in front of the house behind the Whitakers home.
Okay.
And then Chris went inside and later told Stephen that Kevin had smiled at him before Chris pulled the trigger. So Kevin recognized him.
He knew who he was.
I thought that was just terrible. Chris and Stephen.
Stephen.
Blam.
Yeah,
right.
Because he probably thought, oh, hey, he's pulling a prank.
Again, the prank.
Yeah.
Chris and Stephen then left, changed their clothes, dumped the evidence in Lake Conroe before they headed to a bar using some money found in Kent's closet to pay their bar tab. These all three are just pieces of shit. I'm sorry.
Oh, shits.
Before leaving the stand, Stephen recalled a February 2004 conversation he had with Bart in a restaurant. Bart wanted to know what Stephen had told police and that the job wasn't finished, and began detailing a plot to kill Kent.
Wow.
Yeah. Following Stephen on the stand were Will Anthony, Justin Peters, and Adam Hipp, each who told about their participation in the earlier plot to kill the Whitakers.
Yeah.
Finally, after both sides gave their arguments, the jury deliberated for an hour and a half and found Bart guilty of capital murder on March 8, 2007.
That's premeditated murder, baby.
However, Kent Whitaker and Bo Bartlett, who was Patricia's brother, pleaded for Bart's life to be spared. Yeah. They said that the family put too much pressure on Bart and he cracked. And they also believe Bart had been given much too soon. Okay, you know what? Fuck off right here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm so jaded with this.
Yeah.
But this point, this is that whole affluenza thing, like that happened with that Ethan Couch kid in Burleson. Yeah. You were under too much pressure and cracked. I had pressure on me growing up. Not a single damn thing I did drove me to want to murder anybody.
No, I never murdered anybody. I never even thought about murdering anybody.
I feel for this family.
Yeah.
I feel that for this
I feel
family.
for this dad.
I feel for this dad. I really do. But this whole, this whole thing, they put too much pressure on him and he cracked. How much pressure could it have been, really?
Yeah.
I wasn't there. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm just giving my own opinion. And maybe I'll get crucified in public opinion for this. But I'm sorry. Bart was a piece of shit.
Yeah, you're not the only one in that camp today, brother. I do not feel for this. I felt for the last kid in the story.
Rod Farrell.
Yeah, Rod Farrell. I felt for that child.
I didn't feel for this for Bart at
Oh
all.
no, this kid's a punk.
Bart finally did take the stand. He hadn't during the trial.
Yeah.
And said the murders were not financially motivated, as the prosecutors claimed. He claimed the murders were born from his irrational hatred of his family because he could never fulfill their high expectation of him. Mm-hmm. He later told 2020 in an interview that he committed the murders because he felt inadequate and that he thought his parents didn't love him. He also said that he blamed them for being alive and wanted revenge for that.
Huh.
I know. So again.
Well, okay. So if you're mad that you're alive, I'm sorry. There's another way to do that as opposed to killing someone else. If you're mad that you're alive and you don't want to be alive anymore, kill yourself.
I'm not going to advocate that at all. I never want somebody to kill themselves. I think suicide is just as bad.
Yes.
Suicide destroys a family.
What I'm saying is that argument does not hold water.
You're right. It doesn't. It's like I said, this whole thing with this kid. There was a 2020 episode that I watched on this, and I talk about it a little bit later, I think too, but I'll interject it here. I didn't see any remorse on this kid's face.
No,
He
probably didn't have any.
He talked as if he had remorse. There were times he's like, I'm sorry, can we stop recording for a minute? I need a minute. Looked like he was sad and whatnot. But
is there any record of this kid suffering any abuse?
No.
Any head trauma, maybe?
Nothing in the story.
Man. So what twisted this kid's noodle?
Well, I mean, he just this is a mental health thing. He felt he wasn't loved and he wanted revenge for them bringing him into the world.
Yeah.
So the jury deliberated for 10 hours and they came back with a sentence of death for the murders of Kent and Kevin and Patricia Whitaker.
Yeah.
Chris Brashear took a plea bargain and he got life with the possibility of parole. He is currently incarcerated at the Eastham unit in Lovelady, Texas. He'll be eligible for parole in 2035 when he will be 53 years old.
Ouch.
Stephen got 15 years in exchange for testifying against Bart and Chris, and he is currently out of prison.
Okay.
Bart appealed his sentence, citing ineffectiveness of trial counsel, prosecutorial misconduct, and the cruelty of the death penalty.
Yeah, he's just blaming everybody.
Yeah.
As opposed to taking responsibility.
Right.
Yeah.
The appeal of prosecutorial misconduct was dismissed by the Court of Appeals in April 2017. In October 2017, the U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear his case on the insufficiency of counsel. On November 1st, 2017, a warrant was signed for Bart's execution, setting the date for February 22nd, 2018 at 6 o'clock p.m.
Yeah.
On February 20th, 2018, the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles recommended clemency after impassioned pleas by Kent.
Yeah.
On February 22nd, 2018, at 5:15 p.m., Bart finished his last meal and was being strapped to the gurney when Governor Greg Abbott commuted Bart's sentence to life imprisonment.
Okay.
45 minutes before his execution.
Wow. He got close.
Governor Abbott said, Mr. Whitaker's father insists that he would be victimized again if the state put to death the last remaining member of his immediate family.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Yeah.
I can't disagree with that.
I don't think that we should be killing anybody.
No,
I really don't. I don't agree with it. It's not a deterrent. That's a political discussion I don't really want to get into.
Sure.
But
I'm certainly not.
Yeah. But yeah, this guy definitely needs to spend some time in jail. And if nothing else, why don't we study him and figure out what the hell twisted his noodle, because that might help.
Well, in exchange for his sentence being commuted, he has agreed to forfeit any rights to parole, so he will be in prison his entire life.
Oh, well, then that's easy. I don't know why we don't have clinical psychiatrists, or not clinical research psychiatrists. Is that such a thing? Maybe going and studying these people, maybe for better conditions in the prison. Maybe offer them, hey, instead of going out and pressing license plates, you have to go and answer these questions all day. That's your job. Well, I don't know why we don't do that.
Don't we have? That whole show, Mindhunters, wasn't that about a behavioral analysis unit of the FBI that was interviewing serial killers?
Yeah, and they would be like, "Hey, you want us to come talk to you? Yeah, I want you to come talk to me." And basically, they got days off.
Right. And so I think we do have that.
Yeah.
I think we have people that do that.
You know what? I think we need more of that, because again, we want fewer of these people in our society. Mm-hmm. We want a society that works, and one of the ways that it works is not make serial killers.
Right. Well,
okay, in this case, it's not a serial killer, but
and we need to be able to determine he wasn't a serial killer, but he's a murderer. We need to be able to determine at what point. To coin the term or to use the term that's been in popular society for a while. At what point these people break bad?
Yeah.
At what point?
Where did the worm turn?
Right. What twists them somewhere that changed this? What in his chemical makeup or his whatever it is in his DNA, in his mental state, in his brain, wherever it is that allowed him to have these thoughts. My family doesn't love me. I can't hold myself up to them. I don't know, because I wasn't there, but it's hard for me to believe that, honestly, that this family was that hard on him. Maybe. I wasn't there. I don't know.
Okay, something that might lend credence to that thought is how hard this father has tried to keep him from getting killed. I mean, you think about it. If you had any doubt that the dude didn't love you, look at that.
Well, so Bart's still, to this day, in solitary confinement at the William G. McConnell unit in Beeville, Texas. Kent visits him all the time.
Of course he does.
He said he's forgiven his son for setting the whole thing up. Yeah. He's also forgiven Chris Brashear, the gunman. Kent's now remarried. He has a second wife, Tanya, and they visit Bart regularly. He's a staunch supporter of his son, and he believes that Bart's a changed man. I don't know that Bart's a changed man when I saw the videos. I hardly saw any emotion on his face. I think my personal opinion after watching I'll come back to this video in just a minute, because let me kind of finish up here where we are, because I want to hit these last points. Kent has also written a book titled Murder by Family about the shootings, and he travels around the country speaking about forgiveness, which is pretty cool.
That's kind of beautiful, because if that dude can forgive,
right? If he can, anybody can.
Yeah.
So we go back to the video, the 2020 video. There was a psychologist on there that called Bart a narcissistic sociopath with no real remorse after watching an interview with Bart.
Wow.
I agree.
Yeah.
I hardly saw any emotion on his face.
Yeah.
I think if Bart were freed, he'd go back to his old ways.
Yeah.
I think he would go back to the person he was.
Yeah.
That was really kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Because that's what I think about him. I think jail with no possibility of parole is exactly where he needs to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
And study him to figure out how to stop making narcissists.
Maybe. Because I really would like to know. I agree with you. I would like to know what made him tick. What made him.
Because this guy doesn't have any of the signs that we've been studying so far.
No.
None of them.
No.
This appears to be a very loving, caring, giving family.
That's what I think about the family. But again, we didn't live with them.
That's
we
right.
don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know how much pressure they put on him. Maybe it was a lot. But I don't know. I'm speculating.
Yeah.
But just from the things I saw, I think Bart was just a piece of shit. And,
Well,
I think he wanted to become rich, and he wanted his family's money. And the only way he saw to do it was to get them out of the way.
Yeah. They were an inconvenience.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
what it
how,
sounds like.
That's how I see Bart.
Yeah.
I don't have any sympathy for Bart. I
POS.
really don't. I have a lot of sympathy for Kent.
Yes.
He's lost his whole family.
Yeah.
He has had to come to terms with the fact that his son orchestrated the murder of his wife and his younger child.
Uh-huh.
I feel bad for him.
Yeah,
I
poor
really
guy.
do. I don't feel bad for Kent or for Bart. I just don't. And that's where I am.
I'm kind of with you. I think I think we should use him as an experimental model.
Yeah.
Groovy.
So that's the story of the Whitaker family murders.
Well, that kind of got my blood up a little bit.
I think it got mine up quite a bit because, again, this is the whole affluent teen, the Ethan Couch thing that one makes my blood boil too.
Dude, as someone who grew up po and occasionally food insecure, I can tell you right now, I would have killed to be in maybe not killed, but I would have done anything to be in that kid's position.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I was a young man. Oh my God!
And I would think so too. I would want to think that I would be appreciative of the gifts, that I would be appreciative of the things I was given. I know when I was a teenager that there were times I got pissed off because I wasn't getting things I wanted.
Well, but that's all kids.
Absolutely. I remember. I remember I wanted a disc drive to go with my Commie 64, but instead I got a tape drive.
Okay.
And I was upset about that. I'm like, really? I wanted the disc drive, but those were expensive.
Yeah.
And I got what I got.
Yeah.
And I learned to live with it. And I saved up money.
It bought your own
and
disc
I got
drive.
my own disc drive, and I would have traded places to live that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I can sit over here with my rose-colored glasses all day long.
That's true.
That's
true. You didn't have to live that kid's life.
I don't know what it was like, right? Yeah. I don't know what kind of pressures maybe they put him. I don't know. I know that as I watched it, I thought Kent was a loving father.
Yeah.
Maybe he was.
Maybe he's duped us all.
Maybe, but I
it
just
sure
didn't
as hell
see it.
doesn't sound like it.
No. So. Anyway, that's my story for this week.
Well, thank you, sir. That was really, really entertaining and gripping.
Good. I'm glad. I was worried about this one, how it kind of went all over the place.
Yeah.
I was really trying to.
We knew all the places, so I was like, I know where Sugarland is.
Right.
I think I know where Beeville is.
And this was another one. I had to go to several different sites because I was really trying to weave everything together to get the story properly. And honestly, not give away too early that Bart was the murderer.
Yeah.
I really kind of wanted that to be a what?
Yeah.
Moment. So yeah, that's what I played on.
Right on. Yeah.
So
well, thank you, sir.
No, thank you. And that takes us to the end of another recording week. So
yes, hopefully
everybody's out there still enjoying it.
Right on.
Reminder, if you are enjoying our show, staying here at episode 18, please do give us reviews.
Yes, please. Give us a shout out.
Really help us. They help other people find our shows.
Yes.
Find our content that might otherwise have not seen it. You can find our contact information on our webpage if you want to contact any of us. If you want to give us ideas of things you want to hear, just comment to us in general. Anything good, anything bad, we want to hear it all. You can find us on all of our social media pages where you can also comment as well. And you can also find our Patreon on our website if you would like to help support the show. We really appreciate that as well.
Yes.
But yeah, with that takes us to the end.
And I have been Zig with your nerdery.
And I've been Geoffrey with your murdery.
Cue the music.